What's up? I'm Church, the student of the game. Today we have a very special guest, my favorite artist in the whole country, in the whole world. Your favorite artist, my brother, Did Forest. What's up?
It's good, man. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Usually on Student of the Game, we like to talk about things that'll give people insight on the creative endeavors, like the creative pathway and things like that. So, yeah, for starters, I'd kind of interested to know, like, Did Forest. It's buzzy because I'm very comfortable talking to you, but I'm also like in the interview mode. So
Yeah,
I'm, like,
it's a
trying to. I reckon.
weird one
Yeah.
still.
What I'm really interested to know is like the idea of rebirth and rejuvenation, seeing as like Did Forest isn't the first creative sort of, what would you say, like
Venture,
name, or
yeah.
venture that you've taken in or taken on. How has that process been, like, coming to Did Forest as the artist and thinking about kind of where you started, like even maybe back in high school or like.
It's a buzzy one, eh? Like, I do think about it a lot, and it was definitely easier than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, everything kind of just fell into place, and I kind of, maybe it was like my timing, but I don't know, everything kind of fell into place quite easily.
Because I feel like for a lot of people that are starting in music, they get the idea that it's like, yo, I got one shot to do it. And I know, like, from your experience, from my experience, it's like completely not that way.
Yeah.
Did you have that same, like?
Bro, 100%,
Yeah.
G. Like, I don't know, maybe we all go through it, like, when we're that age, but I really thought, like, that was my last shot. Like, I gotta do this now, and then even having a baby, like, having my son recently, had that same thought come back up, like, oh, this is it, like, my time is up. But no, that's the reality, that's just not it, right?
Yeah, everything's so non-linear. It's been interesting though, like, watching your progression, and understanding, like, you've come from settings that people may not expect. Like, you started in bands, for example. What kind of knowledge and what kind of knowledge did that bring into how, like, what you're doing today?
I think all of that, like, all of my past experiences with, like, the band stuff and how you were saying, like, just being in different spaces, it all informs how I move as Did Forest today. So even all the, like, the high school stuff, it still really informs, like, my decisions when I'm being creative, or, like,
Yeah.
so it still has, like, a huge impact, and I still think about it when I'm making shit today.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the coolest things about your music, like, when I listen to it, is that you're completely comfortable in yourself and just your demeanor in general. It's kind of rare, especially in hip hop. I think it's rare to find somebody that's comfortable talking about the day-to-day things that they do.
Yeah.
And, like, don't try to embellish it. Like you'll use certain phrases that are from, like, gaming, you know, like, and little things like how we talk is, like, phrases that are just in normal life. How did you reach that stage of, like, comfortability?
I think at the end of, like, Jinzo's lifespan, I kind of had to sit down with myself and ask, like, what am I rapping about? Like, what was my music about? And it couldn't be about all the flashy shit. It had to be the mundane, everyday shit, because that's just my everyday life. Like, so I really had to, like, draw the line back then.
I feel like it's paid dividends, like, right after that. You saw, like, your first bit of, you could almost say, mainstream success. with the song that you and Dida have, Fire Sale. Yeah, talk us through like kind of the creation of that song and the headspace that you were at, like when that was made.
So I'm not sure if we had done. I think we did do the R&V that year.
Which is like 2018.
Yeah, and then had the decision to put the EP on streaming services, and so we made the deluxe and stuff. But that song specifically, I remember just being like, yeah, let's make something that's gonna make people scratch their heads. Like, let's just do something completely. Like, I remember the moment so clearly, just telling Dida to like, nah, we'll just change the drums, give me a random bass line, like something almost generic, like that would make people go, what the fuck is this, bro? Like,
Yeah,
and,
like, what are these guys on?
And like you said, it worked, bro. And going back to how you were saying at the first question, it just fell into place, like so easily, so quickly. I didn't have to like really do much else.
It's for me, it's really cool to see because I'm with you guys often, and like we work as a team. As a part of Zips and everything, so having witnessed that, like one of the coolest things was how you were able to be championed after the fact, like being from Rewa, being from South Auckland, and then coming out with this house track, you know, and having it be played on George FM, like going to festivals, and everyone knows it word for word, and we're in like Christchurch or we're in Dunedin, and that's like one of the coolest things. Yeah, like how do you feel like looking back on that? Because the song's now like over 10 million streams on Spotify. It's got its certifications, and all of that started from Dida's room, which is like in Clendon. No, like
it's right on the block.
It's about as big as like what we're sitting on right now. Yeah, how does that feel?
I don't think I'll ever get over it. It's always gonna be Buzzy to me, bro. Like,
yeah,
I kind of waited for it to like wean off a bit, but I'll still get taken aback if I go to Dunedin or fucking Wanganui or something. You know, like the shit still buzzes me out.
Yeah,
and I don't think it will ever stop buzzing me out.
But like, that's another point is I've always seen you as somebody that's an observer and appreciative. Like, you're not too cool to say that's Buzzy, you know, or like, you know?
Yeah, no, that's facts.
And I feel like that's like part of the realness that people relate to, like in your music. Well, this is one thing that I saw today, is how Tom Scott was talking about.
Oh yeah.
He posted stories today, and Tom Scott, for like New Zealand rappers, is like they hold him, you know, he's held in the highest regard. And he was talking about, you know, you got to give flowers to people. Sometimes they're just better than you. Like sometimes, like, you know, don't be too competitive. And then like the first person he shared was this guy, and he shared you, and he shared your music, and like, you know, gave you your flowers, like, and you're like talking about your pockets and stuff. Like, how do you feel when it comes to making music and creativity, and how do you match that with like a competitive edge?
Man, I'm gonna be honest. I've never really been a competitive person. Like, it was Buzzy reading the bro Tom, like what he was saying about like just competitiveness in the art that we do and stuff. And like, I don't know, man. I don't really have the same feelings about it. I don't think, and that's just me. I'm not really competitive by nature, but I am like confident in the fact that I'm the best at what I do.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of like the extent of how far that goes. But I don't really I don't really pay too much mind to it like that. And which is Buzzy because like we're rappers, so it's a competitive sport. But I don't know. No, I don't really play into that.
Yeah. Do you find that it's it's better like for your mental as well, like to not focus on
Definitely,
those things.
definitely. Because put it in the context of fighting, like the UFC, you're never gonna be the number one. You're gonna be the best at what your skill set and what tools you got in your box, but like
Yeah.
you're never gonna be next man. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
don't really,
yeah.
I try not to look at it like that.
Yeah, so many things that it comes down to, like a weight division or something like.
There's a lot of variables, bro, that you gotta like consider.
And on that topic, like, of like kind of leveling up, like in that fighting sense, like we talk a lot about like XP, like gaining experience points, like a video game, but in real life. What have been some of the things that like you're most grateful to have received in terms of experience in the last like 4 or 5 years doing this Dead Forest journey?
Just being able to go do what we do at the studio every week, like that's a lot of XP to be gained from that, and that's something that's been really helpful in me putting shit out. You know what I mean? So like, just having the space, performing with the bros and stuff, like all of that shit, I'm still gaining, and then I get to gain passive XP from like streams and all this other stuff. So it's like, you know, it's mean.
Like, when you think about an album like Plastic, and which was your first album as Dead Forest, there are a lot of themes on it that are just kind of talking just about your life in general and the life that you've lived. And so I wanted to shift and kind of shed light on that, because for me, that's probably the best album that I've ever heard come out of this country.
Thank you, bro.
And like,
Thank you.
I'm like,
gassed.
can we? Yeah, I just want to talk about that, like pouring your heart into an album and a project. Like, what is that? What did that take for you personally?
I definitely, when I was like thinking of the concept of it all, I definitely bit off a bit more than I could chew. And then it was starting to get real, like, oh, we gotta make the tracks, we gotta master the tracks. The art's here. It was starting to get real, and I hadn't really thought about that stuff, like what it means to me on that level. What was the question?
Like, what did it take for you to like take it to that place? Like,
Oh yeah, so to kind of like push it across that line of like, oh, this is my real life, I kind of just had to, no, you know what I did? I wrote down everything that had happened in my life from the year that I left high school to when Plastic was about to drop.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, bro, some of the shit I hadn't even spoken to anyone, or like, you know what I mean? So like kind of writing it down and then looking at my past in front of me, it was like, oh shit, made it easier to draw from it.
Because there are so many verses and just lines in that. Like a track, for example, Marmalade, which is one of my favorite like performances from you lyrically. It's so vivid, and it really paints a picture of the experience that just an everyday kid in South Auckland would go through. And I'm not even from South Auckland, I'm from West, but I have that experience. You know, like a bread bag lunchbox, like
it's universal, bro.
Yeah, like
it's
the
universal.
canvas shoes from the warehouse, like all of those things. And I really think that vulnerability is a key part of your music and everything that you do. Is that something that you're conscious of in the making of it?
Nah, it's like 50-50, but a lot of the times I find myself listening back to a track that I've already recorded and it's out now, and then I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I'm being real like open on this shit here. But I always try and lean into it, you know, like I always try and, if I know that I'm being vulnerable, or like in a song, if I listen back and I can hear myself like, oh, some deep wounds that he's opening up right here, then I'm like, oh, I'm doing the right thing. I'm going in the right direction.
Right. I think that that's even powerful in itself, to have a space like music, like where you can take pain and, like you say, like put pain on Pro Tools. Like you're processing it in front of everybody, and I think that that's it's a real brave thing to do. But it really shows the kind of, just that there's an option, like especially
You said it.
you know, like especially for people that grew up like us, like, or just like a blanket over for brown kids, or any kids that kind of grew up in similar situations. Like, I feel like your existence in the scene right now, or just as a creative, has kind of showed options. And it's buzzy, like the people that show up to your shows, and it's like, oh, I didn't know that this like variant of of someone could exist. And like what, like emo goth, like someone could. But then they
Bro, Islanders, bro,
yeah,
it's
like Islanders,
crazy,
like,
man.
because at least, like, yeah, I don't know, what was your experience like growing up, being a fan of multiple things? It was kind of like, was it a hidden thing, or like, you know, like?
Nah, I was pretty. I don't know. It just felt like isolating. It was a very isolated sort of space to be in, liking the random shit that I did like. But that's what makes it buzzier when at these shows I see some kids that are like, oh, bro. Even like I went to a show recently, and I watched the openers, and it was some kids. And I was like, bro, I was just so gassed to see some youths up there doing what in the same spot that I was. Like, I was so gassed to see it there.
It
Makes it all worth it in the end.
it's beautiful, man. What is what's some one invaluable thing that has helped you in your career, that you reckon is probably underrated, like that people don't think about when starting this journey?
That's a hard one. A few things just popped in my head.
Yeah, let me.
No, I think the main one is just like being aware, like really knowing where you fit in, or where you're coming from, what you're saying, and how you're doing what you're doing, or how you're going to do what you're going to do. I think a lot of people don't really, it's all gas, and they're not really looking where they're going, or, you know what I mean? Like, they're just going forward, which is not a bad thing, but I think you'll get further if you're just a bit more aware of what it is you're doing. And
Like, do you mean like intentional? Like,
that's the word. I think if you're, focus and intention is like the big things. Bro, Manu, the first time I met him, he talked to me about focus, and it just, a switch just switched on in my brain, bro, and now here we are.
And Manu's our manager, very like, he's definitely helped us, like, in terms of staying on. I feel like, going off of that, like support systems, right? Like having people in your corner that are for you, can be as important. Like, can you speak on that? Like,
it's hard for me to speak on, because my support system's always been very like bare bones. I don't have a big family. I don't really have like heaps of friends per se, but it is very important to have people that look out for your best interests. One of the things I noticed when I was doing the whole Jinzo stuff was that when it was coming to an end, there wasn't really many people around me that had my best interest. And that was another thing that kind of pushed me to get off that and onto this thing.
And you were around a lot of people at the time.
Exactly. So it was buzzy for me to like, oh, it's coming to an end, and look around and there's not really anyone there that wants the best for you anyway.
Yeah. What's your music sounding like today?
Whatever I want it to sound like,
Hell
which
yeah.
is mean.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling. And then I think it kind of goes back to what you were saying about like the competitiveness. Like I always see people that, oh, he could do. I'm not competitive about making music because I can make any type of music that I want. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Like there's no restrictions whatsoever when it comes to what I want to make.
What do you have any words like for people that might be watching this that have the intention of wanting to do that but don't feel that they're in the space to actually achieve that? Because I feel like that's something that we both experienced
Definitely.
at one point. Like,
Definitely.
I just want to do that, but I'm not there yet.
Focus and intention, and then I think just persistence on top of that as well. Because like, it is Buzzy. Me and you were sort of in that place and a couple years back, and now we're in that place of like, oh, we have full control. We can do whatever we want to do.
Yeah.
And it was just persistence, I think.
Yeah, everything takes time.
Yeah, yeah.
100%. Another thing that I wanted to mention is like social media. You're someone who's very vocal about the facade of social media, but also being an artist with hundreds of thousands of monthly listeners on Spotify, and people that care about what you say on the internet. How do you find that balance?
I'm still trying to find it. I'm still trying to find it. It's like, it's very elusive in nature, I think, because it goes against our nature. So I'm still trying to figure that out myself, bro.
Yeah.
It's a buzzy one, eh?
It is the buzziest one, because you're expected to have it all figured out, right? Like, but I love every time you post on social media because it's so nonchalant and saying like, "Yo, this is not real." Like this is all like
not a real place.
not a real place. And I feel like that's real evident in your music is the message of you actually trying to say something, like in the midst of everybody else that is looking for the engagement. You're just trying to connect with a person on a one-to-one
Real
level.
humans, man. Real human shit.
How did you come to that conclusion?
I think it was like over a period of time, maybe like through COVID, I'd say, just sort of watching everyone shift their lives from real life to like, everyone's they call it like a space, like, the internet's never gonna be a safe space, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. But at that time, I was just like, yeah, this is not human. That was the biggest thing for me. Was like, this is not human. Like, literally 15 years ago, we were not doing this. Like,
Yeah.
And so, what were we doing? I try to like focus on that. Like, what were we doing?
Yeah.
10 years ago. It wasn't even that long ago, bro.
No,
Like, that's
not even.
the buzzy thing.
And it's like that idea of trying to bring it back to basics while still also trying to find your audience in that.
And because we have to engage with them on like in some way, so still trying to work out that balance today.
Yeah. And I think that's like powerful for you to say in general, because from the outside, a lot of people might think, oh, he must have it sus. Like, this guy's getting booked for shows, like like the way he's posting, maybe I got to post like that as well. Like, but now you're saying like there's literally no method.
And it's buzzy. You can watch what other people are doing on social media too. Nobody knows what the fuck's going on. Nobody knows what they're doing or if it's going to be effective. There's like numbers about it, but it's still like early days. You know what I mean? It's still early.
Like when people say they have social media managers. What are
That's out there. Like, I don't know, bro.
What are we talking about?
Sounds like a waste of money to me.
But I think this has always been true for you and true for me. It's about the music, like make the music,
Yeah.
right? Like that's
Yeah.
what you're saying. That's what we're talking about, is the intention and the focus and persistence. Like what does that look like in real terms, in real steps? And I think for you, right, it's like actually getting in time to just create. Yeah, how do you find time, like, in your life? Like, in what spaces do you like to create?
I think I kind of, so like when I started making music and stuff, it was kind of just getting where you fit in. Like any spare moment that I had, and even today, like my life is kind of mad at the moment. So anywhere and anytime, like I don't really have a, what's it called? Preferred time or space to create. I kind of
Yeah.
like, and maybe that's not a good thing, because then I'm like kind of creating out of desperation. But that's where I kind of thrive at, I think.
Yeah. I like that you're like you're not idealistic about your situation at any given time. Like whatever is given to you is what you'll work with. Right?
I think that just kind of sums up me as a person,
Right.
in general, but especially creatively, getting where you fit in.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah. I want to also just, we've kind of touched on it throughout this conversation, but South Auckland as a starting point. When you look at the music of like Dead Forest, it makes so much sense that you come from South Auckland, but at the same time, there's a backdrop of sounds from all over the world. And like you say, it's very buzzy. And I know there are a lot of people that'll be watching this are coming from similar settings and have similar ambitions to you. How did you maintain those ambitions in a space like that?
I think going back to what you were saying before, like just focus and intention there.
Yeah.
And for me, the main focus, which kind of kept this whole thing alive, was being good at music, or being good at making music. Like that was the main, I'd say that's probably one of the only reasons I'm here still doing what I do today, was that I didn't care about like being the biggest rapper or getting heaps of plays or whatever. It was just, I want to be really good at making songs. And then, yeah, just focusing on that.
Yeah.
And never letting go.
Yeah. Because there's like definite positives and negatives to like the places that we grew up in, right? Like there's all of the inspiration from the struggle, and then there's the reality of the struggle. How do you, like we say persistence, and it's a word that can kind of just sound like a buzzword, but like, what did that actually mean for you? Like what were some of the things that you had to do or avoid to get to this point?
If you're from South Auckland, Rewa specifically, in the early 2000s, you'd kind of understand all the hula hoops you got to jump through and stuff you got to avoid and streets to not go down and parties to not go to. So like all of that, there's a lot. But all of that stuff really.
Yeah. It's just self-awareness, right? Like that's something that.
And it's like it's a hard thing to do when you look around and there's not. It's like the path less traveled is the hard one, you know. So was always kind of hard to stay persistent, especially when I was younger, because the stuff just pulls you every which way.
And I'd imagine that that would kind of make you feel more isolated or feel like an outsider.
Definitely, definitely. There's people that I used to like make tracks with way back in the day, and I thought like, yeah, we're gonna be on and da 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 da, and then they just ended up smoking crack, like.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do about that. You know what I mean? Like that's just, you know. So, those are the types of things that. It sounds harsh and bleak, but those are the types of things that I had to not do or to be mindful of, be aware of.
Yeah.
Especially younger, because that's when you're the most sort of impressionable.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Focusing on your craft. When you were just talking about that before, it made me think about how your progression has always been steady, even if it's non-linear. So looking into like how you started bands playing real instruments, and then had a gap, and then as you began doing Dead Forest, you weren't even playing instruments, it was more like straight bars, but now it's come full circle again. And you've been getting back with real instruments. How's that been?
It's been mean. It's been mean. I thought about this literally the other day when I was doing drops. Like, the last few years has just been a journey to kind of get back to the baseline that I had at 14, 15 years old. And it's like I'm finally reaching that now, which is sick, bro.
Yeah.
It's mean.
Yeah. What about it do you enjoy?
About what? Like
Playing instruments.
oh, bro, that's like my first love was playing instruments, man. I'd say the bars and even producing kind of came secondary, but I always loved instruments, bro. I think that's been my number one first love and number one therapy as well, actually.
Yeah. In what way?
Expression. You can just, because I'm a drummer, so like you could imagine 14-year-old me smashing it like for hours, bro, on end.
Yeah, whatever you have to. It's a cool way to think about it. Because I guess music generally is all expression, but having that kind of tangible way to kind of get your shit off is like,
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, that's cool. So I guess lastly, I'm just kind of wanting to know where you see yourself going from here and the sort of things that you want to achieve.
Get better at making music. And then I think everything else that comes with that would just be just pros, I guess. You know what I mean? But the next 5 years, I just want to keep getting better at making music.
Yeah.
Keep getting better at what I do. And being here now, I kind of know that is gonna serve me well in 5 years from now.
Yeah.
You know, so I kind of have
Yeah.
a bit of peace of mind around that as well.
That's good that you mentioned that, like understanding your position in the journey and knowing that it'll serve you at some point, like enjoying that. Some people can see it in the opposite way and see where they're at in the journey and not be fulfilled by it. But yeah, I like that. That's a good way to think about things. I think that's us.
Gang.
All right.
It's time.
Appreciate you.
No worries. My hands are sweaty.
Safe. Yeah, that's another student of the game. With my brother Dead Forest. I've been church. Focus, intention,
Persistence.
persistence. Let's go.